Welcome back, everybody. We're out here at the Northwest River in Tidewater, right off of Battlefield Boulevard on the border of North Carolina and Virginia. It's called Blackwater, put in at Bob's Fishing Hole. And today I want to find out how well hot dogs work for bait. It's cold as hell right after the holidays. Washington just lost, but we look like we're going to have a good season next year. So I need to get out and get back to doing what I like to do, which is fishing. I brought my noodles, got a couple extra rods and reels, so I'm going to try for just about anything. There's catfish out here, there's stripers, a lot of crappie. It's 3 feet around the edges, usually gets down to about 4 or 5 feet in the middle. So who knows? But I'm going to do some drifting. I'm going to do some noodling, really do just about everything, see what'll bite a hot dog. I've also brought some earthworms and maybe a little bit of fish heads for some of the bigger cats. But let's get on it. Thanks for watching. So one of the tips to noodling is you want to have your line tight. So you want it to lay flat, but you don't want a lot of play in it. If you have a lot of play in it, you don't get to set the hook as well. When the fish grabs, even though it's got a circle hook on it, you want a little tension there so it pulls back. If it's totally slack, there's not as much pullback on that. Plus, you want to be, a lot of times, if the fish is just sitting there with no resistance to it, he's not moving, he's not pulling. A lot of times you see your noodle sitting there flat, and you don't think you have a fish on it. Part of the fun of noodling, especially in a kayak, is seeing that bobber go up and down, that noodle go up and down, and you having to chase it down. So you want to make sure that you can just kind of hunt and peck, find the right distance, the depth of water. You can cut your line to that, or you can just, okay, here's where it's nice and tight. But in addition, if it's really loose, it can wrap around structure, stuff like that, and you can lose your line, lose your sinker. And if you're using lead, that can get expensive. A lot of times people use bricks, stuff like that, but on a kayak, I don't have a lot of space, so I'm using lead. Don't like losing it. Sometimes it's a couple bucks depending on, what I'm fishing for. So remember, when you're using noodles, make sure your line is tight, straight up and down. Doesn't matter really where you put the hook. I usually find that catfish bite a little bit lower, and other species like gar will catch a little bit higher. But really, I've caught them on all different depths. So just make sure that you have a nice tight line, and of course that the noodle's laying flat. All right, so what I'm using today as far as hooks, you can see these are my octopus circle hooks, Gamakatsus. These are number 5. I use a mixture of them, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, depending on what size catfish I think I'm going after, or just regular fish. Tell you the truth, I use circle hooks for just about everything, especially when I'm using pool noodles or I'm jugging. Circle hooks are the way to go. But the Gamakatsus are not cheap. They've got a high carbon content, very sharp tip, awesome hook, name brand, so obviously it's going to cost you a little bit more. These other ones I use when I plan on losing a lot of lures or jugs. If there's a lot of structure that I'm fishing, these are not as strong. They have a lower carbon content, but the nice thing about them is I can get a billion of them for 15 bucks. As you can see, I got a little bit of water in there, and some of them started to rust up, so you got to keep them dry. But when I'm going for volume, or if I plan on losing a lot, or don't want to lose a rig, I use the cheaper circle hooks. Again, there's all kinds of cheap ones you can find on Amazon. I've got a link to both of them in the description box below. But again, if you're just out there jugging and you think you're going to lose a lot of stuff, go cheap. But if I'm going out, need to bring fish home to mom, or competition, some type of fishing tournament, I'm always using my Gamakatsus. Kind of personal preference, but from what I understand, there's a lot more carbon in the Gamakatsus, which makes them stronger, sharper, holding the edge better. Sometimes the carbon can, if there's too much, lends itself to rusting, but I have never had a problem with my Gamakatsus. But that's what I'm using out here today, and I usually use those when I'm jugging.
Fishing for?
Catfish. You have any luck?
I got my one for the day.
I'm still waiting on mine.
Yeah, 4 trips in a row, I'll get 1 fish, that's it. I did a little striper fishing early this morning.
How far are you going down?
Earlier, and I had one on and a couple other bites, you know. They couldn't keep them on.
Yeah.
They don't like this sun. They don't like this real bright sunshine day.
It's nice being out though.
Huh?
It's nice being out though.
Yeah, it's nice out here.
Nice thing about jugging is you got a lot of time waiting for something to bite, and you can still do regular fishing, so you're increasing your odds. Now today, again, trying with those hot dogs in a new location. So far, nothing's biting me. So we're gonna keep efforting. At some point, we're gonna get something. I think. This is gonna be interesting. When I win a millionaire, when I win the lottery, I'm going to get one of those. In the meantime, I always turn into those waves. So I've been moving all over the place with my noodles and different types of baits. I've been wondering why I haven't caught a thing all day. And looks like, if you can see that stripe, it is incoming tide. This is tidal area, and last time I was here last week, it was outgoing. It was high tide. It is now pretty much low tide with the tide coming in. That's been the difference. Different bait. You know, I'm using hot dogs, I'm using cut bait, and I'm using worms. But even on the worms, I was catching a lot of shell crackers last week. So it looks like the tide has made the difference. Basically, same weather, cold with some sun, but it looks like the tide is what's been the difference. Not giving up yet, but it's been a long day. I'm a little worried about getting skunked, so I switched spots over here at the bridge. It's usually about 15 to 20 foot of water depending on where you're at, so I'm using a heavier hook, and I'm using earthworms, just letting it sink to the bottom. A lot of times there's shell crackers here, there's crappie. Again, I don't like being skunked, so I'm cheating a little bit. Ooh, little shell cracker. That is what they call a shell cracker. Nice looking fish. Caught them on a worm and a hook. That's about it. It's a real pretty fish. Well, that's about it. Didn't get skunked, so I'm gonna head on home and get me some grub. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. There's a map coming up of exactly where I'm at. Look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great one.